We've now got our header component created and it is being displayed by the app. But the styling could still use a lot of work. In particular, the header is displaying the network bar on the iOS version of the app. On the Android version, it's probably at least showing in the right spot, but we definitely need to fix this up a little bit. So in this section, we're going to start by working on styling for our application, specifically the header. Now, styling with React Native, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a bit of a touchy subject. If you've worked on web applications with HTML and CSS, you might have grabbed some, bootstrap CSS file, dropped in your project, and poof, all of a sudden, everything looks nice and pretty, right? Well, unfortunately, React Native doesn't quite have the same tools available. There isn't really a great default package of styling out there that you can just install and suddenly have great looking components. There are one or two open source packages out there that kind of help, but they're still a long way from being ready for prime time. So what I'm trying to say here is that for React Native, we have to do all the styling by ourselves, all of it by hand. But that's okay, because we're going to learn a lot while we're doing it. So just to be clear, when I'm saying styling, I'm referring to our ability to change what the text and other elements look like on the screen, like size, color, placement, all that kind of stuff. So rather than creating a separate CSS file, as we might do if we were working on a web app, we place all of our styles inside of our component file. So inside of the header file, I'm going to place some styling that's going to be used for this component right here. By convention, we'll usually make a new object underneath our component called styles. And then inside of this object, we'll add styling for each individual component. So styling, it consists of JavaScript objects that have certain property that set the size, height, color, all that kind of stuff. So we have no CSS. A lot of it will look like CSS-based rules, but we're not using like CSS selectors per se. So the first styling rule that we're going to use is we're going to increase the font size of this text element right here. So I'm going to add in a new property to the styles object called text style. And I'm going to say that it should have a font size of 20. So immediately you'll see font size right here, and it definitely makes you think of CSS, right? Because there is a font dash size property with CSS. A lot of the same rules are applicable with React Native. They just all use camel case instead of dash casing. So, take note, this is not font dash size. It is font capital S size like so. Once I add in the style, I will use it inside of my component like so. Again, by convention, rather than just saying styles.textstyle directly, we'll use what's called destructuring to reference our style. So I'll say const text style equals styles. So now text style is equal to this font size object right here. Then for the next step, we'll apply the style to the text tag. We're going to use a little bit of interesting syntax here, and we're definitely going to talk about great length about exactly what this syntax is. But inside of the text tag, I'll say style equals, and then curly brace, text style. This syntax that we just used right here is referred to as a prop, which is short for properties. We're going to talk about properties or props at great length with React. For right now, let's just focus on the styling aspect of it. So we'll come back later and talk about this particular syntax, but for right now, let's just check out our simulator and see what this looks like. So back to my simulator, I'll hit Command R, and hot dog, sure enough, we've got a larger albums appearing on the screen. If we want to, we could dial up the size. So let's say 200, and okay, that's a really big album. It's probably too big. So let's just dial it back down to 20. And okay, good to go. Okay, so this is how we do styling in React Native. Let's continue in the next section and add on a bunch more rules inside this object that's going to give our header component some nicer styling than what we've got right now.